St. Paul's Day, observed on January 25th, occupies a significant place in the tapestry of folk traditions, particularly in rural communities across medieval and early modern Europe. Named in honor of the Apostle Paul, whose conversion is commemorated on this date in the Christian calendar. The day transcended its religious origins to become a pivotal moment for weather divination. In agrarian societies, where survival was intricately bound to the rhythms of nature, the meteorological conditions on St. Paul's Day were believed to serve as a prophetic window into the fortunes or misfortunes of the coming year. This blend of Christian observance and pre-Christian weather lore imbued the day with a mystical aura, as villagers scrutinized the skies for signs of prosperity, hardship, or calamity. The tradition of weather prophecy on St. Paul's Day likely has roots in the syncretism of Christian and pagan practices. In pre-Christian Europe, midwinter was a time for divining the future, as the dormant earth and the turning of the seasons held spiritual significance. With the spread of Christianity, such practices were often grafted onto saints' days, and St. Paul's Day, falling in the heart of winter, became a natural candidate for these rituals. By the Middle Ages, almanacs and oral traditions across Britain, Germany, and other parts of Europe recorded specific weather omens associated with the day, reflecting the anxieties and aspirations of communities dependent on agriculture. For these rural folk, the stakes of St. Paul's Day were high. A single poor harvest could mean hunger, while a bountiful one could ensure survival and even modest prosperity. The day's weather was not merely observed but interpreted as a divine message, a communication from God or the forces of nature about what lay ahead. This belief fostered a deep attentiveness to the natural world, as every cloud, gust, or ray of sunlight carried weighty implications. The weather on St. Paul's Day was thought to forecast the year's fortunes with striking specificity, and each condition carried its own distinct prophecy. A clear and sunny day, when the sun rose clear and bright, painting the frost-covered fields with golden light, it was hailed as a harbinger. This was the most auspicious sign, promising a year of plenty. Farmers envisioned fields heavy with golden wheat, orchards laden with fruit, and gardens bursting with vegetables. The warmth of the sun seemed to bless the earth, infusing the community with optimism. In some regions, a sunny St. Paul's Day prompted small rituals of gratitude, perhaps a prayer of thanks in the village church or a communal gathering to share in the hope of a prosperous season. The clear sky was a canvas of divine favor, and the people carried this promise into their daily labors with renewed vigor. Rain or snow. In contrast, a day shrouded in rain or blanketed by snow cast a pall over the community. These conditions were interpreted as omens of scarcity, foretelling a year when the soil would be uncooperative, yielding meager crops or none at all. In an era when famine was a recurring threat, such a forecast stirred deep unease. Villagers might respond by taking immediate practical measures, checking grain stores, reinforcing pantries, or bartering for additional supplies. In some traditions, rain on St. Paul's Day was also linked to excessive flooding, which could drown fields and ruin planting seasons. Snow, while less destructive, suggested a prolonged winter that could delay sowing and weaken livestock. The mood in the village would grow somber, with families gathering around hearths to discuss how to endure the lean months ahead. Clouds or mist. The most ominous of all signs was a sky heavy with thick clouds or cloaked in mist. These conditions were associated with pestilence, a word that struck terror into the hearts of medieval and early modern communities. The damp, oppressive air was believed to carry miasmas, noxious vapors thought to spread disease. In an age before modern medicine, outbreaks of plague, smallpox, or other illnesses could decimate populations, and the memory of such calamities loomed large. On a misty St. Paul's Day, villagers might retreat indoors, burning herbs or lighting candles to purify the air. Superstitions abounded. Some hung garlic or charms at doorways, while others avoided unnecessary travel, fearing the mist's unseen dangers. The psychological weight of this omen was profound, as it hinted at threats beyond human control. High winds, fierce, howling winds, were perhaps the most dramatic omen, signaling the spectre of war. In the collective imagination, the violent gusts that shook trees and rattled shutters were nature's warning of human conflict to come. This belief may have been reinforced by historical coincidences, as storms often preceded invasions or battles in an era when weather could disrupt or enable military campaigns. The sound of the wind, eerie and unrelenting, evoked images of clashing armies, burning villages, and displaced families. In response, communities might turn to prayer, seeking divine protection, or hold hushed conversations about local feuds or distant political tensions. The wind's prophecy was a call to brace for upheaval, both physical and societal. Beyond weather watching, St. Paul's Day was marked by small but meaningful rituals that reflected its dual religious and folk significance. In churches, sermons might recount the story of Paul's conversion on the road to Damascus, emphasizing themes of transformation and divine intervention, themes that resonated with the day's focus on discerning the future. In rural areas, however, the sacred and the secular intertwined. Some households lit candles to honor St. Paul, while others shared stories of past St. Paul's days, recalling how a sunny morning had indeed led to a bountiful harvest, or how a stormy day. In certain regions, farmers ventured into their fields at dawn, not to work, but to observe. They noted the direction of the wind, the behavior of birds, or the quality of the light. Believing these details refined the day's prophecy. For example, a west wind might soften the severity of a war omen, while a flock of birds flying south could amplify fears of a harsh season. These observations were often communal, with neighbors comparing notes and debating interpretations, reinforcing social bonds even in the face of grim portents. While the intense weather divination of St. Paul's Day has faded in modern times, its legacy lingers in rural folklore and the broader tradition of weather proverbs. Phrases like "If St. Paul's Day be fair and clear, it doth betide a happy year," can still be found in old almanacs or recounted by those with ties to agricultural communities. The day serves as a reminder of a time when humanity's relationship with nature was immediate and visceral, when a single day's weather could shape a community's hopes and fears for an entire year. In its essence, St. Paul's Day was more than a moment of superstition. It was a ritual of attentiveness. It compelled people to pause, observe, and listen to the land, to see themselves as part of a larger natural order. Whether they greeted the day with joy at a clear sunrise or dread at a stormy sky, the villagers of old understood that their fate was intertwined with the earth's rhythms. In this way, St. Paul's Day was both a practical act of survival and a profound expression of humanity's enduring quest to find meaning in the world around them. Many thanks for treading this tale's path. If St. Paul's Day gripped you, like, follow, subscribe, and comment below.